Bryce Harper lived out a fantasy that a lot of Americans have. And no, I'm not talking about having millions of dollars and being a professional athlete at the highest level. This man actually cussed out his boss. From ESPN baseball insider Jeff Passan, Philadelphia Phillies star Bryce Harper stood nose to nose with Rob Manfred during a meeting between the Major League Baseball commissioner and the team last week, telling him to, quote, get the fuck out of our clubhouse if Manfred wanted to talk about the potential implementation of a salary cap. Well, damn. Now, this conversation is very noteworthy because it is definitely foreshadowing the fight that's expected to take place between Major League Baseball owners and players next December when their collective bargaining agreement expires. Major League Baseball is the only North American sport that doesn't have a salary cap, and in recent years, Manfred has been going around to various ball clubs trying to sell the players that for the growth of the game and their own salaries, they need a salary cap. Now, Manfred might have had an easier time trying to sell ketchup popsicles to a man in white gloves because history has shown that when it comes to instituting a salary cap, the players are willing to take it to the mat. Remember what happened in 1994.
The season was officially canceled with a press release issued by Major League Baseball, supported by the signatures of every team but two, the Baltimore Orioles and the Cincinnati Reds. Later, as a fitting symbol of how far apart the players and owners are, Bud Selig and Donald Fear held news conferences in two separate cities, each reminding us of the reason there will be no World Series, the salary cap.
Like a lot of things in life, you anticipate something and fear that it's coming, hope that it isn't. And when the day is here, there's an incredible amount of sadness.
There appeared to be no urgency, no desire to go to any extraordinary lengths to find an agreement. Every reason to believe, given the calmness with which this announcement was preceded, that this was something the owners had long since, weeks if not months ago, come to accept as necessary.
And then there was 2021.
Major League Baseball's collective bargaining has expired, and the owners have locked out the players until the new deal is worked out.
Marshall Harris joins us, and it's been months in the making, and it could take months to resolve it.
Everyone just needs to buckle in. It's baseball's first work stoppage in 26 years. The owners locking out players to avoid another strike, which the sport would be susceptible to without a new CBA. Now, the Players Union wants to expand salary arbitration, earlier free agency for its players. Rob Manfred said, the lockout is MLB's only tool to speed up the negotiations.
I think we're in a process. I'm prepared to continue that process, and I'm optimistic that we're going to get a deal.
The 2021 lockout resulted in a 99-day work stoppage, the ninth such stoppage in baseball's history. When the current CBA expires, many expect it will lead to another lockout, including Major League Baseball Players Union Executive Director Tony Clark, who said in the spring, unless I am mistaken, the league has come out and said there's going to be a work stoppage. So I don't think I'm speaking out of school in that regard. Sounds like a 10th work stoppage is on the horizon. But here's the real question. Does baseball indeed need a salary cap if they want to thrive? Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask Manfred, of course, the answer is yes. Manfred has told the players that their salaries would be $2 billion higher if they would have agreed to a 50-50 revenue share and a salary cap 20 years ago. Manfred also claimed that during that span, baseball player salaries have grown the slowest among the four major professional sports. Now, even though we've recently seen Juan Soto sign a $765 million deal and Shohei Ohtani sign a $700 million contract, Manfred has told players that 10% of the players earn 72% of the money. In that 10% class is Bryce Harper, who is on a 13-year, $330 million deal. Now, if there is anything I've learned from observing labor strife between players and owners, it's that the numbers usually floated by the league, let's just say you often have to take them with a grain of salt. And it's important to recognize what their strategy is. Now, in labor negotiations, it's not uncommon for players to undermine themselves. And certainly Manfred and other baseball owners noticed that when the players agreed to the new CBA in 2022, the players' unions 8-member executive subcommittee voted against the current CBA, but the majority of the player representatives voted to accept the deal. Now, that probably gave Manfred some hope that there are at least some players who might be willing to abandon the union's historical position of being against the salary cap. But here's the thing. I'm not big on taking it easy on billionaires. The owners are looking at these escalating player salaries, and even if it's just among the 10%, they are clutching their pocketbooks. Now, they claim it's about establishing competitive balance, but there have been 9 different World Series winners in the last decade. They haven't had a repeat champion since the Yankees in the late 1990s, early 2000s. The argument for a cap always centers around small market teams. How are they supposed to compete with the bottomless checkbooks of the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers? Well, last year, my Detroit Tigers, they made it to the divisional round of the playoffs, even though Ohio State's football team had a higher payroll than they did. Now, I would argue that not having a cap gives small market teams a better chance to compete. I mean, if the money's all relative, if it's all basically equal, then a player is definitely going to pick the hippest city and the biggest media market. If this is just a matter of spending, then suddenly some teams will be in the mix that weren't before, because the highest bidder wins. Now, we've seen this at the college level. It's all about whether or not you can present the best NIL package. That's how Rutgers basketball wound up with 2 top 5 draft picks on the same team. And the talent becomes much more widespread. It's not the fault of the players that some owners in smaller markets would rather make a profit over building a championship. That's an issue of mentality, not of money. Just as history has taught us that baseball players will fight tooth and nail against the cap, history has also shown us that when you concede to owners, you never regain that leverage. I'm Jemele Hill, and I approve this message.